Hey everyone, Faizal Khamisa inside the Sportsnet studio. We're awaiting Kansas City Royals manager Ned Yost. He's going to be speaking from Kauffman Stadium very shortly ahead of Game 1 of the ALCS. Yes, ALCS Blue Jays fans. It starts tomorrow. Coming up soon, though, Royals manager Ned Yost. We're going to take you to him live as soon as he starts speaking, though. We are here inside the Sportsnet studio right now, Faizal Khamisa, alongside Jeff Blair as we continue to wait for Ned Yost to start speaking. Jeff, ALCS begins tomorrow. It's the Toronto Blue Jays and Kansas City Royals. Everybody knows that by now. From a fan's perspective, this is pretty fun because it's two teams that not only hate each other, but might be the two most hated teams in the American League. Yeah, don't look now, Toronto, but not only is your team in the ALCS and not only are they an exciting team, I think you can make a case that based on social media's reaction to what happened at the Rogers Center last night, based on social media reaction to Jose Bautista's bat flip, I think you can make a case that they're probably the most disliked team in Major League Baseball right now, seconded only to the Kansas City Royals, who, of course, as many people will remember, got in a dugout clearing incident with the Blue Jays in Toronto. More to the point, and this is really rare for baseball, earlier this year, in April, as a matter of fact, they had 3 straight games against the Oakland Athletics where the dugout's empty. So the Royals play with an edge. They like to throw inside. What you saw on Tuesday, I'd be prepared for a little more of it. All right, we're going to touch more about this when we come back. Right now, it's time to take it to Ned Yost, who is set to speak at Kauffman Stadium.
Can you just share how...
Faizal Khamisa back inside the Sportsnet studio. That's Royals manager Ned Yost, complaining he doesn't hear too well, but he did all right in that press conference as well. Now, he touched on the bad blood between these two teams. It goes back to August 2nd when Josh Donaldson and Edison Volquez had a bit of an issue, and it kind of carried over after the game as well.
Ball's thrown right at you, you know. I mean, right out of the hand, the ball's, if it's intentional or not. With that being said, I could care less the fact that he hit me. I just think there were some things that went along in the game that were mismanaged very poorly.
He's a little baby. He's crying like a baby. He get mad to everybody. Like he's a Barry Bonds. It's not Barry Bonds. He got 3 years in the league. So we've been around longer than he did.
You don't see warnings thrown out all the time, but the reason he did it is because he knew just as well as I did he hit me on purpose. So he had 2 decisions to make right there. One, he could have threw him out immediately right there, which I don't want him to do that. I thought he was pretty good hitting, so I don't want him out of there.
All right, Jeff, it's easy for a manager like Ned Yost to say, this stuff is forgotten, no one thinks about this. It was only about 2.5 months ago that this really boiled over. It's on the player's mind, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think it would have to be. And you know, look, I mean, Ned Yost is right. You have to throw inside to be successful against the Toronto Blue Jays. The Royals pitchers, I mean, they don't need to be told to throw inside. They understand that's what they're going to have to do to be successful against the Blue Jays. But yeah, I've covered enough baseball. There's bad blood, and guys kind of turn the page. But when you hear guys commenting on it after the game, the way Donaldson commented on it and the way Volquez commented on it, yeah, that suggests to me that there's some lingering bad blood there. And again, it just gets to the fact that they're both of these teams play hard baseball. They throw inside. It's almost a byproduct of the nature of these two teams to have this type of baseball. I think it's going to be a test for the Blue Jays young pitchers, guys like Aaron Sanchez, Roberto Osuna, because you're going to have to maintain your composure. And, you know, I think back to that game Wednesday night, the one thing that I can't say enough that impressed me was the way, with all that stuff going on, Aaron Sanchez stood out in the mound, finished off that game, or finished off Shin-Soo Choo, got his team into the dugout. It's going to test these guys. It's going to test these guys.
All right, we are going to take you back to Kauffman Stadium. Game 1 starter Edison Volquez is set to speak ahead of his start tomorrow. Let's take you to him live right now.
We've got the first question.
That was Game 1 starter Edison Volquez, who has a contentious history with the Blue Jays this season. In fact, these two have played some tight ones already this year, most notably a series in August. We're going to look back at their head-to-head. They've played 7 times. The Blue Jays have a slim 4-3 advantage in terms of wins. They've scored 6 more runs, 39-33. 9 home runs, of course, they lead that category. And their average with runners in scoring position, 254, 267. Pretty close. It's a pretty close splits when you look at their matchups this year. Again, 7 of them, 4 in the favor of the Blue Jays. And if that works out in this series as well, I guess the Blue Jays will be going to the World Series. But we're getting way too ahead of ourselves. I guess just off the bat, the Blue Jays' perspective in terms of this series, is this a good or bad matchup for them?
Oh, I think it's a good matchup for them. I think that they can pitch to the Kansas City Royals. I mean, I really do believe that the toughest matchup the Blue Jays were going to face in the American League was Texas. I mean, I said that from the start. Mm-hmm. Texas was a team I didn't want any part of. I think they'll be able to handle Kansas City. My concern would be if John Gibbons has to go to the middle of the bullpen, let's say in back-to-back outings, because you don't want to get into a battle of the bullpens with Kansas City. But if he can get 7 out of Marco Estrada, or you get 6 2/3 or 7 out of Stroman, they'll be okay. My only concern in that regard is, what do you do with David Price? If they're going to start David Price, I don't think they can afford to have David Price give them 4 innings, 4 1/3 innings. But if they, again, to me, it's going to come down to, can the Jays avoid having to get into a game of bullpen tag with Kansas City? If they can, they could win the series in 5 or maybe even 6 games.
Let's go back to the starters. Ned Yost mentioned Johnny Cueto starting Game 3, which is Game 1 at the Rogers Center. He has a little bit of a history in pitching in front of a raucous environment. The Rogers Center is absolutely that right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you're a Blue Jays fan, bring the noise when Johnny Cueto's on the mound. Bring it nonstop. I mean, a couple of years ago, this guy had one of the most memorable postseason meltdowns in Pittsburgh when he was with Cincinnati. You see in the footage there, he dropped the ball. Now, these two teams hate each other. We talked about the National League Central. They hate each other. This crowd got in his head. What happens in the next pitch? Russ Martin, home run. Total meltdown. So this is just between us, Blue Jays fans, and you and me.
Thank you.
If you're going to the Rogers Center for Game 1, be really loud. Don't throw stuff, but be as loud as you can ever be, because this is exactly the type of guy that'll be affected by that type of crowd.
All right, so tell your friends if you're going on Monday, Jeff Blair said to be very, very loud.
Bring noisemakers.
Bring noisemakers. More instructions to come, I'm sure, as well. Now, we know the first 3 starters for Kansas City. We do not know who Toronto is sending out. If you had to bet, who would you go with?
Well, we had John Gibbons on my show this morning. I think probably Marco Estrada would make the most sense for me right now. John Gibbons was pretty clear. This decision this decision won't be made. It'll have been made now because they were on the charter, but it wasn't going to be made until the Blue Jays found out the status of David Price, which would concern me a bit. Maybe there's a health issue with him we don't know about. I don't know. But John Gibbons made it pretty clear, before we do anything, we'll find out where David Price is. Once we figure out where David Price is, once we figure out when he's ready to go, then we'll kind of work around that. I think you'll probably see Estrada. And then, I mean, I don't know. I can see R.A. Dickey coming back. I would think if you wanted to use R.A. Dickey, would you want to use him in the dome, in the controlled environment? But my sense is that Marco Estrada gets that first start.
All right, we should get some clarity today as well. John Gibbons is expected to speak around 5 Eastern time. That's when Tim and Sid starts on Sportsnet as well. The guys, they've been off for a while, but they're ready to take you through that one and likely hear from the Game 1 starter as well. You can see them on Sportsnet at 5 Eastern time. Now, I want to go back to what Ned Yost said. He was asked about the bat flip yesterday and the element of respect, and he said, well, he's had these kids, his Royals, from day one, and he's taught them about how to respect the game. Now, this is not a team that in many people's eyes has respect for the game. So is he is he just defending his guys, or does he genuinely believe that his team is playing the right way?
Yeah, I would ask the Oakland Athletics if they think that the Kansas City Royals respect the game. There's something going on in baseball right now, and it's interesting. It's become a young person's game. And you just look at the stars in the postseason. Look at the Jays, Marcus Stroman, Aaron Sanchez, Roberto Osuna. You look at the Cubs, Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant. We're talking kids who are 23, 24, 25.
Oh, gosh.
It's I know. It's become a, how do you think I feel? It's become a young man's game. It's really become a young man's game. And what happens when that happens? Well, you get more emotion. You get more of the demonstrative play. And I think there's almost a culture war going on in baseball right now between the old school guys who say, look, you hit a home run, you drop the bat, you run around the bases. And don't look at a pitcher, don't look at any of the players, just run around the base, find the third base coach, clap hands, away you go to home plate. It's changing now. Now you got guys who are going, you know what? If I hit a home run like Jose Bautista hit a home run, I'd moonwalk. I mean, I'd take my bat with me to second base and drop it at second base. It's just the way the game is going.
I genuinely think the ball landed before Bautista's bat did yesterday as well. And you don't get Instagram likes by just dropping the bat. You got to pimp that bat a little bit. You
Pimp it up a bit.
Taps, you know?
Got to pimp it up.
It should be noted, NLCS news as well. Addison Russell, the Cubs shortstop, is out for that series with an injury as well. So it's been a great DS. 3 of these series going 5 games. What are your thoughts in general about the 4 series so far and how fun they've been to kind of watch?
Yeah, I mean, I predicted on sportsnet.ca that the Jays would win. I got the Cubs winning. I got that right. I got the Mets beating the Dodgers, and I still think the Mets are going to beat the Dodgers tonight. As much as Zach Greinke is a great pitcher, I think Jacob deGrom, if he uses his fastball more, can really take care of the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're not a great fastball hitting team. For some reason, in his first start in the series, he dropped his fastball usage by 5%. If he gets that back, coupled with the fact that Matt Harvey's in the bullpen, another guy who can throw really hard, I really think the Mets are going to win this game. And you're never going to knock Zach Greinke out of the game, I don't think. But I can see them winning by a couple of runs here. I think this game is the Mets to lose.
All right, we have coverage of that Game 5 for you. The third Game 5 in the division series. It starts at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific time on Sportsnet. Again, a reminder, John Gibbons will speak around 5 each, and the guys on Tim and Sid will guide you through that one. That is us.
Sure they will.
I'm sure they will as well. Remember, bring noise on Monday. That's from Jeff Blair. On behalf of him, I'm Faizal Khamisa. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll get you back to your regular scheduled programming.